Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from wherever you're tuning in. I'm finally back home after my amazing trip at Cyprus, where not only were the days crazy long, but I got amazing opportunities to liaise and connect with some of the best fintech minds at the IFX. And while I've shared some of the updates of my conference and my speaker sessions and all those awesome stuffs, I didn't want the glamour of IFX to end, honestly. But it feels good to be back home because that means I can spend time geeking out with my fabulous community as the FinTech Chronicler. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm your host, Kamalika. And this is your weekly community podcast where we pick one hot FinTech topic, get into the depths of it, and have like a deeply spiritual FinTech discussion around it. So it's not really for the lighthearted, but if you are a fellow fintech nerd, then come right up on the LinkedIn audio room. That would be the little hand icon at the bottom right of your screen, and I will pull you right up, and we can have like an amazing, fruitful discussion, which augments both of our learning and understanding of the topic. And today we have a pretty hot topic to cover, and this is the impact of the recent RBI directive on all credit card bill payments that have to now be routed only through BBPS. And in my opinion, it's going to take a massive hit on fintechs like Cred, whose entire business model revolves around being a biller agent for credit card payments. Now, the RBI, just to go through the entire directive in a little bit of detail, the RBI recently put up a mandate saying that all credit card payments have to be processed either through the issuing bank's net banking services or only through the Bharat bill payment system alone. And this has caused quite a stir in the fintech world. It's like, if I had to give an analogy, the RBI is trying to herd all financial cats into one corral, and not everyone is willfully jumping the fence, if you get what I mean. I mean, imagine you want to throw a party and suddenly the guards tell you that everyone has to enter only through one specific door. That's essentially what's happening here with BBPS becoming like the sole entryway for credit card payments starting July 1st. But here's the kicker. Some of the biggest names in the industry are not really ready for this party to start, at least. Take, for example, HDFC Bank, ICICI, and Axis Bank. Their absence from BBPS leaves platforms like PhonePe and Credit a bit of a pickle. Now, if I had to give like a Met Gala example, these fintechs are like the high-end fashion designers who buy tables, dress up influencers like Deepika Padukone, Priyanka Chopra, Aishwarya Rai, and then at the last minute, they realize that these pretty women haven't really RSVP'd to the organizer and hence may not even be allowed entry into the gala. Why? Because only 8 out of the 34 credit card issuers have hopped onto the BBPS bandwagon. And this feels like a slow game of musical chairs where everyone is very nervously eyeing the July 1st deadline. Many people in the payments industry have gone ahead and asked for a 90-day extension from the RBI. Fingers crossed. Let's see what really happens over there. But here's what's really interesting. Credit card payments is just like a drop in the BBPS ocean right now. It's making up a mere 1.5% of all transactions on BBPS. So why is the RBI pushing for this change? In RBI's parlance, this is like installing a high-tech security system. And by centralizing the credit card payments, the RBI aims to keep a sharper eye on fraudulent activities and gain deeper insights into payment patterns of individuals. I'm a little conflicted here because frauds happen at the time of sale, whereas bill payments happen at the billing cycle's end. If the RBI really wanted to, say, for example, monitor the disputes that are being raised on billed transactions, wouldn't it be easier to just set up a centralized online dispute resolution system with very strict SLAs and tags? Or is the innuendo here that a lot of fraud is being carried out during bill payments? In which case, reassessing the certification of certain BBPS agent might be helpful? Anyways, it's all a waiting game for now. Will the banks fall in line? Will RBI extend the deadline? How is this going to affect the average credit card customers? That's the real question we want to answer, isn't it? But let's first start with the basics of what is BBPS. Now, BBPS stands for Bharat Bill Payment Services, and the system, the origin behind BBPS, if I had to give like a pre and post of BBPS, before BBPS, we had something known as the EBP, which stands for Electronic Bill Presentment Platform. And we had pioneers like BillDesk and Bill Junction over there. These systems connected agents, which were like banks and third-party payment platforms, with businesses like utility companies, teleco companies, NBFCs, insurers, etc. While this allowed for online bill payments in a certain way, the ecosystem was still highly fragmented. Each BBPP platform operated in like a silo, had no interoperability. While this did allow for a way of paying our bills online, the ecosystem was highly fragmented. Each eBPP platform operated in a silo and there was no interoperability. Billers had to integrate separately with each platform in order to reach a wider audience base. For example, a biller that was integrated with BillDesk could only access the customers and agents that were onboarded on BillDesk platform alone. In order to expand their reach, billers needed multiple integrations, making the process complex and inefficient for both businesses and for consumers as well. That is where the introduction of BBPS transformed the bill payment landscape. And it did so by providing a unified interoperable platform. Now, under BBPS, billers or businesses needed to only integrate once in order to become accessible across all participating payment apps. This system comprised of mainly two entities, billers such as your EB board, water board, telecom company, lending institution, so on and so forth. Basically, anyone with the need to collect recurrent payments, and agent institutions, which were payment apps like GPay, PhonePe, Paytm, and Cred for credit card payments. BBPS enabled customers to pay bills through any of these participating apps, regardless of whether the biller was individually integrated with that app or not. This interoperability greatly simplified the process for both businesses and made it a lot frictionless for consumers as well. Additionally, BBPS had features like standardized dispute resolution and had credibility because it was backed by the Reserve Bank of India. So it kind of ensured reliability and trust in the system as well. The result was a more efficient, user-friendly and widespread bill payment ecosystem that benefited all the stakeholders. Now let's understand some key details about BBPS, starting with its purpose. So BBPS aim is to provide a unified system for paying various bills, offering multiple payment modes and instant confirmation of payments. Functionality-wise, it allows consumers to pay bills through a network of agents or registered members acting as agent institutions. The management is simplified because it's managed by NPCI, who's also known for the widespread handling of UPI payments. BBPS covers everyday utility services such as electricity, gas, telephone, direct to home, and a lot of other things as well. Customers can make payments using any payment mode that they prefer, be it any electronic mode, credit card, wallets, and so on and so forth. And because it's from NPCI, of course, UPI is also instant payment mode that's enabled over there. Customers can manage and pay multiple bills from a single platform without having to visit each individual biller's website or physical outlet. So it offers a convenience through anytime, anywhere, any method bill payment over there. Billers benefit because of the reduced operational expenditure, as they don't have to really integrate with each and every different agent institution architecture of BBPS. The first thing is that it's a centralized structure which is managed by BBPC, which stands for Bharat Bill Payment Central Unit. And this is responsible, the responsibilities of this lies with NPCI. And what they do is set the operational, technical, and business standards. It also handles, wherever necessary, the clearance and the settlement of the money as well. Next, we have the operating units. Now, these are authorized entities that adhere to the standards that are set by the central unit. And these can be banks or non-banks that are responsible for processing of these bills. Third, we have the agent institution. These entities provide the digital or the physical touchpoint for consumers to make their bill payments. Fourth, we have the participants, which can be the billers or the bill aggregators as well, and their sponsor banks. So billers are basically service providers who receive payments through the BBPS network. Bill aggregators are entities that integrate multiple billers onto their platform. Sponsor banks are the banks that manage the end settlement for any operating unit. And then, of course, stitching all of this together, you have the tech service providers, which are certified entities that provide the necessary technological infrastructure, be it for a biller, an agent institution, an operating unit, and so on and so forth. Now, how does a transaction flow work on BBPS? The first step is the bill presentment, where customers can view their bills through any of the operating units. It can be channels such as internet banking, a mobile app, or even at the agent's location, physical location as well. The biller technically just uploads the bill details to BBPS platform, after which for any customer through an operating unit, it is accessible. Next stage is the payment processing, where the customer selects the bill that they wish to pay for and choose a particular payment method. The payment request is then routed to the operating unit and then to the central unit, which processes the transaction and provides like an instant confirmation to the customer as well. The third leg of it is the clearance. So this is the transaction flow. Next is the clearance and the settlement flow, where the actual money really moves over there. So here is where the central unit comes into play, and they handle the clearance and settlement of the transaction between the operating units and the billers. The sponsor banks facilitate the financial settlement for non-banking or transaction processing system within the entire banking system. The fourth leg is where we have the dispute and the complaint management system, where BBPS has a centralized management system where customers can lodge any of their complaints with regard to any entity in the BBPS ecosystem. Each complaint has a unique reference number. Until the resolution, there's a tracking that happens at every entity level over there. Now that we've covered the different participants that are there in the BBPS unit, just a quick recap. So we have BBPS Central Unit, which is operated by MPCI. They're responsible for the clearance settlement, setting the standards, fraud and risk mitigation, onboarding all the operating units, which is the second entity over there, who are the non-banks, banks or non-banks, which are responsible aggregators, people who generate the bills to present to customers. You have the TSPs for the technological architecture, and agent institutions, which are apps through which customers and consumers can clear their bills. So now that we have all of that clear, let's talk about some of the key interactions that happen. The first one is between the central unit and the operating units, where the standards are agreed upon, the clearance and settlement mechanisms are agreed upon. Then we have these operating unit aggregators, which includes onboarding of the billers, their bill collection mechanism, payment processing, and all of those. Then you have the agent institutions and the interactions that happen with the end consumers, which can include end consumers requesting for the bills to be presented to them. So, bill presentment mechanism. When the customer initiates the payment, you have another one. The third one is also if there's a complaint or a query that they have, lodging those as well. So, these are broadly the 4 different ecosystem interactions that happen in a BBPS network. Now, coming to the economics of BBPS and the crucial impact that the recent RBI directive could have on the likes of Cred, PhonePe, Amazon Pay, and so on. Now, much like how it happens in the payment industry, we have 2 broad types of transactions in BBPS as well. One is the on-us transactions and the other one is off-us. What is on-us in a BBPS network? These transactions occur when both the agent collecting the payment and the biller receiving the payment were onboarded by the same BBPS operating unit. Now, the operating unit handles the entire transaction processing, including the payment collection and the settlement between the agent institution and the biller's account as well. The BBPCU or the central unit does not play a role here in the clearing and the settlement of on-us transactions. The operating unit identifies the settlement bank where the agent and billers maintain their respective settlement accounts, and the operating unit calculates the net position of each of the participants at the end of the day and submits that settlement file to the respective settlement banks. Billers receive the aggregated principal amount collected, while the agents get their commissions or fees, whichever was a part of their commercial agreement when they got onboarded with the operating unit. The operating unit then provides the transactional details to the billers and agents for recon and customer service and all of that as well. Now coming to off-us transactions. These are transactions when the agent institution collecting the payment and the biller receiving the payment reside on 2 different operating units. Here is where the role of the central unit comes into play for clearing and the net settlement between the 2 different operating units. The operating units route the transactions of off-us transactions to the central unit, which calculates the net settlement position of each of the operating unit at the end of the day, and basis that net payment, each operating unit receives or has to pay the funds through the settlement bank at the end of the day. The central unit also provides related transactional data to each of the operating unit, which enables, their respective payments and bills that have to be given to their billers. The operating unit pays the billers onboarded on the basis of whatever transactional data that they've received from the central unit. Now, obviously, as is with the payments network, honest transactions have a higher cost efficiency since the entire transaction is handled within a single operating unit. So the process is a lot more streamlined. Because they don't have to really share revenues with other operating units, the transaction fees and commissions are, the percentage of the transaction fees and commissions earned are slightly higher over here. Settlements are faster because the BBPOU directly settles the funds with the billers and the agents respectively, and because of the complexity involved, the time also reduces. In contrast, off-fast transactions have a interoperability cost that's kind of fed into this, which is additional to the cost of routing, clearing, and settling the payments. They have to share the revenues with the other involved operating units as well, which further reduces their margins. And settlement becomes slightly more complex with the central unit coming into play and additional steps that are introduced over there. So, how do agent institutions like CRED and PhonePe make money on BBPS? The first is through convenience fees. Agent institutions can charge customers a convenience fee for all the bills that are processed on their platform. However, there is a restriction with respect to the fee. The fees, there's a maximum limit, a ceiling amount beyond which agent institutions cannot charge anything more, while they're free to charge nothing at all. So if you've made payments through agent institutions such as CRED for your credit card payments, you would not have had to pay the convenience fee at all, versus if you were, say, using Check, which is another agent institution for collecting credit card payments, you do have to pay like a 5-10 rupees convenience fee basis whatever your bill amount was as well. Then comes the commission. Now, agent institutions receive commissions or a fee for facilitating the bill payments, and this is basically it's a part of the commercial agreement when they get onboarded on a particular operating unit, which kind of decides that. So the more volume you have and the more value of transactions that you have, the higher you can charge a commission, which is where I think payment aggregators or agent institutions like CRED comes into play because they are onboarding high credit score customers over there, which means that their spend capability on their credit card is also higher. So the bills that they generate would be of a higher value transaction, giving them an edge when it comes to bargaining on commissions. Also, a lot of agent institutions have a revenue sharing model with the operating units. Though when I was searching on the internet, because these two involve a certain NDA, I could not find the exact specific details over there. Now, another advantage for agent institution is the increase in customer engagement because Now, another advantage for agent institution is the increased footfall and engagement, which, because of the data that they're collecting, can also lead to potentially increasing their revenue on other areas and services that they offer to their customers. So that brings us to the critical question of the business model of CRED that will get impacted over here. Now, if they're not able to process the cards from Axis, HDFC, ICICI, which by the way are amongst the three in the top 4 card issued in the country, this is going to significantly impact the volume and the value of transactions or the bills that they are able to facilitate on their platform, which will downstream lead to a trickle down on their revenues and the commission agreements that they have with operating units over there. Also, because the journey is going to be broken for consumers from now on, a lot of customer attrition could also be seen over there as well. So net, I think this is a huge impact, a negative impact on these players. But with that said, that's all I had to discuss. So I would love to open the floor up for others and their questions. Meanwhile, we have my good friend Amit Ji on stage again with us. Amit Ji, it's always a pleasure hosting you.
Thanks, Kamalika. Thanks a lot. Maybe RBI is doing the centralized payment system for the credit card. One of the reasons could be, I'm not sure, this is the guesswork. They want to see the pending pattern of each and every individual as per the directives from the finance ministry or from the income tax department. Maybe could be the reason for that. That actually is a very great insight, Amitji. Because if you remember, sometime back, RBI was raising a lot of concern about the growing unsecured loans trend that's there in India. And one of the biggest unsecured lending pattern is through credit cards. I honestly, that's such a great insight. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah, that could be the reason, Kamalika. Thank you. All right, we also have Abhishek, another very good friend of mine on stage. Abhishek, welcome back. It's been a really long while since we interacted. How have you been? Yeah, I have been perfectly all right. All right, Abhishek, would love to hear your view on this. To my understanding, I was also reading in the newspaper that the LRS scheme or things like that, the government is also looking to see if the credit card spends made abroad are getting recorded correctly. But that would mean. So maybe one of the. But if that is the case, Abhishek, that would mean that the central unit or NPCI needs to get the itemized bills that are generated by each biller, which means my entire credit card statement, when I request it to the biller, instead of it just coming from the operating unit, it needs to be routed through the central unit, which currently is not happening. There can be other reason as well, because at this point of time, banks only report the transactions of 10 lakhs or more if they are paid in a year. But if there are multiple banks, and each of the bank has less than 10 lakhs, they do not report anything. Correct. This is interesting. I may have to look up. So if it is at a one place only, all payments are made through one place, you can see that against one PAN card probably how much payment is made in a year, and how much is that probably is in foreign currency as well. Against a foreign currency, I mean. I don't think they can do that, because the billers only give the entire bill split up only to the operating unit and not to the central unit, which is NPCI. So I don't think that can happen. But some form of triangulation can definitely happen basis the spends. If your spends are way too high, then that could be an indication that a lot of your transactions are probably foreign currency based. That's also good insight, Abhishek. Thank you so much for adding. All right. That was all that I had for this edition, and I am very, very grateful to both Abhishek and Amitji for coming up on stage and adding their insights. It just made the entire discussion so much more better. With that said, thank you everyone once again for joining me, and I will see you back again next week. Bye till then, and take care.